2021 is about to come to an end, and what a year it has been here in town. Welcome to our Year in Review special. I'm Mary Evers.
And I'm John Luck. Not that it was hard to do, but this year had a little more positivity to it for many people over 2020, as many of us spent the better part of the last 15 months stuck in our houses due to the pandemic. Social distancing, mask restrictions, and much more were a big part of a time where nobody truly knew what to expect day to day.
That included us here at BTV. As we turned our houses into studios and shared our experiences from our own home to yours 1 year later.
Welcome to my all-inclusive staycation site. It's been my bubble for the past year, and what a year it's been, right? But slowly but surely, okay, maybe more slowly but surely, we are getting back to normal or closer to normal, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
I remember this time last year I was up in Maine seeing steam trains for the first time in the snow. You know, I remember there were murmurs of COVID, but there wasn't really a huge concern about it. It was more, oh, it's over in China or Washington State. It won't affect us. And well, little did we know at the time we'd be heading down to Philadelphia for the BTV tournament down there and with basketball, and we'd come home and well, the world changed forever, really.
I think we made it back within a week or so of the travel restrictions taking place and all the safety protocols happening. So we came very close to, having some issues getting back into the state from Philadelphia.
Well, working from home has certainly been an eye-opening experience for me. I love the commute, I will say that. Going from my bedroom to my bedroom, no traffic lights, don't have to wait on a train, not stuck behind some car. It's a great commute.
If you've watched the updates and the news programming from the past year, this has been my backdrop. Nothing more than a old room divider that I drag out here, put in my living room. My new set is very simple. I set up a camera in front of my recliner. I have a TV tray with a KitchenAid box and a microphone on top, but somehow it's worked over the past year.
With anything else, there are some positives. I did get to spend a lot of time with my dog, I guess new dog, so to speak. My girlfriend and I had gotten our dog Chester right before all this started, and we get to spend a lot of time with him because the best things you could do is just go outside and stay away from people. So what better to walk a dog through a park or play fetch with him, and that's what we did. And that was a big positive. And you know, another positive is I got to spend more time in some of my hobbies. You know, I love trains, as has been repeated many times over the BTV air, and I get the time to start actually crafting my skills and working on some models of my own.
Some positives from this year is that it reminded us that everything can change at a moment's notice, so appreciate what you do have when you have it. It gave us the simplicity of just being with those we live with to simply make time for the things that matter. It also taught us to be creative in the ways we spend time with those who we don't live with. In my case, that meant virtual game nights. Over the holidays, we did cookie decorating parties, visits with Santa over Zoom. We had Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner over Zoom.
I have friends who are parents, I have friends who are teachers, and even a year later, they're still trying to figure out the balance of work and social life, all while trying to do this in a living room or your bedroom or your dining room all day. And I can only imagine how hard it is on parents and teachers, especially the parents that have to work all day and make sure that their kids are still getting their education. And I can only imagine how much stronger people have come out of this.
If there's a positive to come from this, I think it's simple. There's a lot of good in people. Getting to report on some of the good things that has happened, pen pals bridging seniors to college students, businesses coming out and helping those that need help in the toughest time for a lot of people. And just seeing that the community can get behind each other, helping out people that they don't even know, but knowing that, you know what, if you're having a tough time, there's going to be someone there to help you.
So really this year just reinforced that it's the simplest things that bring us the most joy. Meals with family, time with friends, hugs. And those are the things that I miss most and I'm looking forward to doing once we go back to normal. I'm also looking forward to the day where I'm not fearful of the unknown, of passing on this virus to someone I love. That potential is scary enough to me. And I really look forward to the day where we don't have to live with that fear all the time. And hopefully that's around the corner.
My hope is that we remember that it's okay to slow down once in a while. It's okay to allow some time and space for ourselves and for those we love and those we care about the most. And when we are able to cherish those times together, I think it's safe to say we have grown a new appreciation for being able to do the simple things. Stay safe and be kind to one another, and cheers to brighter days ahead.
Students around the district and the state returned to full-time in-person learning this year. Before that full return, students and teachers had to operate on a remote hybrid system. This was difficult for many, but in February, parents thanked the teachers for their efforts and in many cases, never saying no.
But I would just like to point out that they have never once, a teacher has never once said to me, I can't. And we have crossed a lot of hurdles. And I think the teachers really deserve that pat on the back. And also, the teachers of BR have always stood on their head and gone out of their way to educate my children. And never once have they said, we can't do it. Our children in BR need us to say, I can. And we need to try to do that for them.
During the public comment portion of the meeting, one parent said that many people have made sacrifices throughout the pandemic, but children have had to sacrifice interaction with friends and classmates.
As adults, we go to work and we do things, we interact with some minor interaction with people because we've already developed a lot of those connections, social relationships, and all that stuff, and the skills to make them. These kids are learning how to be friends, how to make friends, how to interact with peers. I just think that it can't be stated loudly enough that mathematics, although near and dear to my own personal heart, is not the only thing that school is for.
As students returned to the classroom and COVID stats improved, the safety measures were relaxed. Unfortunately, they did have to re-implement them, which drew the ire of some parents. A number of them joined up with parents from other districts in the state in filing a lawsuit against mask mandates. 5 lawsuits were filed, all by New Hampshire lawyer Robert Foho. Because of the process, the parents could keep their identities anonymous in the filings. For the first time in a number of months, the district met for its monthly school committee meeting in October, and it was only for a short time following this exchange between a couple of the parents in the audience and the committee chair, Rachel King, over mask usage in the building.
I am going to come back from recess, but I would ask if you have that sign to please leave, and if you do not have a mask on and you're not following the rules of our school building, I would ask you to leave as well. I do believe in freedom of speech, and I understand the frustration for parents right now, but we are following the DESE guidelines that we need to follow. We did not make those rules. So we're doing our best to keep the children and our staff safe and healthy and in school as much as possible so they can learn. So if you're not following the rules of the building, I would please ask that you put a mask on or you leave. And that sign is not necessary. So I would ask you to please leave, or I will just adjourn our meeting, and we will not continue.
It's called freedom of speech.
This is not a public meeting. We are meeting in public. I'm asking you to please leave with your sign, sir. I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Madam Chair, so moved.
I would take a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Any opposed?
No. Madam Chair, roll call vote.
DESE recommendations.
Madam Chair, roll call vote.
We had this discussion when I spoke at your school committee meeting in June. DESE recommendations
Florence?
recommendations. They're not
Mrs.
laws.
Conrad?
Aye.
Mr.
We do
Dolan?
not
Aye.
adhere to what
Mrs.
DESE
Holbrook?
Aye.
Ms. Dr. Prewandowski?
Aye.
Mr.
I was here
Marrera?
at a
No.
meeting in July.
Mr.
and not one
Fitzgibbon?
No.
person on
And the
this
chair
committee
votes aye.
was
We are
wearing a
adjourned.
mask. Not one person on the negotiation from the side of the teachers union was wearing a mask.
The meetings, which were on Zoom for the most of 2021, returned online and will continue that way into the new year. The new year will see changes on how residents will vote in elections. The council heard from the town clerk throughout the second half of 2021 on the topic of re-precincting. The biggest changes facing the residents would be the precinct they vote in.
I did talk to Town Clerk Marilee Hunt about re-precincting and how it could affect the election process in Bridgewater. Why was this re-precincting process needed? And is this something that other towns here in the Bay State are either doing or getting set to do?
This is something that everybody in every town in the whole United States is doing. So we aren't singled out for this, and definitely everyone in Massachusetts, every town in Massachusetts is doing it. It stems from what everyone participated in last year in 2020 was the Centennial Census, which happens every 10 years, that the United States government takes census to find out where people are, who is where, and what kind of representation is needed for our democracy. So when people fill that out, all those numbers go back to the federal government. They get sorted by state, and we get them back here to find out how many people we really have living in Bridgewater. And that's the beginning of it. And in Bridgewater, we knew our population was going to have grown. We've seen certain things. We've seen the Calthrop Preserve, we've seen Viva, we've seen Access, some of the larger housing developments. So we knew there were going to be quite a few more people in Bridgewater, but we didn't have any idea how many. And the way that starts to break down when we talk about re-precincting, first of all, I'll just remind everyone that when you vote, you have to vote in a precinct. You don't vote in a district, you don't vote in a ward. Everyone in Massachusetts votes in a precinct. So that's the very base level of how our town is divided, is into precincts. Since I've been here, we've always had 7 in Bridgewater. The thing about the law says that you can only have 4,000 people in a precinct. So when you take 28,633 and divide it by 4,000, you can't come out with 7. We're gonna have 633 people that are not gonna have a precinct, right? So we knew that we would probably have to have more than 7 precincts, and that's exactly what happened.
How long should this new precinct map last? Or is this something we're going to have to look at in another 5-10 years and say, well, time to re-precinct again? Because I know we have the McElwain School apartments that are going to be coming online in, I believe, a year or so, a little longer than that.
Yes, absolutely. And that was one of my calculations too, because this is so much work that I'm not going to be here in 10 years. First of all, we don't have a choice of doing it in 5 years. We'll do it in 10 years. It's always at the 10-year mark that we do the new census. So I know I'm not going to be here when it happens the next time, and I really wouldn't wish this on anyone else. So when you multiply 4,000 times 9 precincts, you get 36,000. So our population can grow to 36,000 before we're going to have to do this again. Our growth from 2010 to 2020 was a little over 2,000 people, and that was with pretty big growth. Like I said, we've had the Calthrop Preserve, we've had Viva, we've had Access, we've had quite a bit of large growth. So I feel very confident that we won't have to re-precinct again in 2030 nor in 2040. It depends on what happens by 2050. I think we'll probably be fine even at 2050. So most of us who are watching this probably won't be here or won't care by the time it has to re-precinct again.
And you can watch more of our conversation on our YouTube page. And don't forget to subscribe to the BTV page while you're there so you can stay up to date on everything happening here in town.
It was just over 20 years ago our country was attacked. A day that will be etched in our memories forever was remembered by the people around the country and the world, and Bridgewater was no exception.
And it was eerie how beautiful of a day it was this year, kind of like what happened back on 9/11 back in 2001. Residents gathered in front of the Academy building and in front of Boyd and Quad at BSU to remember the lives affected and the lives lost on that day. Residents here in town gathered on September 10th at Boyd and Quad over at BSU and on the 11th outside the Academy building. Thousands of lives were lost that day, affecting thousands of families, but as the years passed, the message remained the same: to never forget.
Every generation has a profound moment that is forever seared in its collective memory. A tragic event that inflicts great pain, that so upends the world that we feel lost and disoriented for a while. A powerful experience that lives with us forever and whose consequences affect us for decades. For my grandparents, it was the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, a day which will live in infamy. For my parents' generation, it was the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963. For our generation, it is the horrendous morning of September 11th, 2001. And as Tyler reminded us, we are mindful that many of our students were not even born until after 9/11, but that the echo of that day continues to reverberate throughout their entire lives.
We promise to honor the sacrifice of the men and women serving in our military in the days and years that followed, home and abroad, those already serving, and others inspired to leave their civilian lives behind to defend a wounded nation. We promise to continue to protect our communities and guard against unseen evil that waits for weakness and opportunity. We promise to carry on a legacy of selfless service to others, a challenge that has been accepted by the next generation of police officers and firefighters, many of whom stand here before you today.
There were moments of silence held during both ceremonies, including the one at the Academy building, which occurred at the very moment the first plane struck the World Trade Center. The Year in Review continues right after the break.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
I spy something beginning with S.
Snow?
No.
Snow-covered trees?
Nothing to do with snow.
Head outside to discover incredible animals and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure.
Wow.
So grab your loved ones.
Don't even.
And explore a world of possibilities.
Come on, this way.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you.
Welcome back to the 2021 Year in Review. Right now, we want to turn to the schools in Bridgewater and start at the university. Last year's commencement ceremony, which typically takes place at Boyd and Quad, didn't take place there, adding on to the difficulties for what the class of 2020 and the class of 2021 had to deal with due to the pandemic.
As things change day to day, the university could have a small ceremony, but there would be too many restrictions that really wouldn't have the same feeling as events in years past. BSU President Fred Clark, also an alum at the university, promised the students that they would have their moments to be celebrated and recognized. Safe to say, he delivered.
Congratulations, my friends, and welcome to Gillette Stadium. Isn't this cool?
Bridgewater State celebrated the academic achievements of the classes of 2020 and 2021. However, this year's commencement was different. Taking place in August, the graduates walked across the stage of Gillette Stadium and even received a welcome from a familiar face.
Welcome to my house.
Three-time Super Bowl champion Matt Light welcomed the graduates in a video saying they were there for a reason and it was similar to what he had to do on the field. Putting hard work in every day, try to reach goals, and do all the things that led them to graduation. The former offensive lineman told the graduates to enjoy the day but don't stop the hard work and continue doing what they've done to get to this point. The graduate commencement kicked off the three-day celebration at Gillette with BSU President Fred Clark calling the day one of celebration, endurance, perseverance, and pride. Next night, it was a class of 2020 on the Gillette Stadium turf. Their commencement was postponed last year due to the pandemic, and in the 16 months since many of the graduates stepped foot on campus last, thousands of lives were lost here in the U.S. due to the virus, along with millions being affected. Like many people, however, the graduates and the university lived through the motto that life must go on.
And along the way, we may have learned something about ourselves.
We need each other. We need each other. As much as possible, we need to be together, since being alone cuts against the grain of our humanity. Being together to learn, to serve, to lead, to compete, or simply to have fun matters. We also learned that being together with family was never more important, yet harder to achieve during the pandemic. FaceTime falls short. Trying to touch hands on either side of a pane of glass was terribly inadequate when families tried to come together to celebrate or to grieve. In April, I lost my dad. He instilled in me and my siblings deeply held principles of integrity, dedication to family, an enduring work ethic, the importance of education, and an unwavering commitment to public service.
President Clark added that there were losses over the past year and a half, but there are also gains, including personally for him, with his first grandchild being born. On the third day of commencement celebrations, the class of 2021 were recognized with 2 sessions. In the morning, commencement speaker Abigail Soares, who is a third-generation BSU student, recognized the sacrifices her and her classmates made over the past 16 months leading up to July 31st, 2021.
We all had to make sacrifices to be here today and took actions to make our dreams a reality. For some of us, that meant giving up a senior year surrounded by friends at Bear's Den, and for others, it meant balancing school, living at home, or even working as heroes on the front lines. Each sacrifice is valid, no matter how seemingly big or small, and deserves to be recognized. The actions that we took by making those sacrifices also shows us the fine line between those who just dream and those who achieve their dreams.
Certainly a cool moment for a lot of those graduates, getting to see Matt Light on the big screen
Yep.
and getting to see Kevin from The Office on the big screen.
And as of this recording, it's been announced that the class of 2022 will also be graduating at Gillette Stadium in June, I believe.
And, you know, since this is a year in review and looking back at things, you're going back to BSU for your master's. So, you know, we'll get to go see you probably in the next couple of years
Oh,
at Gillette,
geez,
right?
maybe, yeah. If they keep it up on Gillette, yeah.
Well, now it's on TV, so there's some public
true.
pressure.
That's fair.
Well, as students and staff return to the university, some for the first time in over a year, I had a chance to talk to President Clark about the commencement ceremony, but also his thoughts on students returning and even taking some time for selfies during the pandemic.
I think it's very important for our students to walk across that stage. It's a symbol of their achievement, and it's important not just for themselves, but for their family and for their communities as well. I remember the class of 1968. I know I'm going back. On their 50th anniversary, the class of 1968 were here at Bridgewater. They were robbed. They didn't have a commencement because Bobby Kennedy was killed the day before commencement. They canceled it. They never had the chance to walk across the stage. 50 years later, we gave them that chance right in Horace Mann Hall here. And as those students walked across the stage, they cried their eyes out. 50 years later. And the reason that they did is because it is important to walk across that stage symbolically. And I vowed then that I would never, ever cancel a commencement ceremony. So it was really the class of 68 that was my inspiration. And I can tell you from the emotion, from the excitement of the 30,000 people that came to cheer on safely our students crossing that stage, I am so glad that we were able to provide that opportunity for our students at Gillette Stadium. Plus, it was a lot of fun.
It was awesome. You had fireworks, Matt Light, Kevin from The Office. Didn't bring any chili, unfortunately. Now, during the pandemic, I would walk around Bridgewater State University, and there were times right when the pandemic really ramped up in 2020, when the commencement was supposed to happen, I would see students on the steps, and I believe I would see you as well, taking pictures with the students, socially distanced and everything with the proper protocols. Why is it so important to play such a role like that in a time where something as simple as taking a picture, why is it so important to do that?
Well, that class of 2020, when we postponed their commencement and we postponed it to a date uncertain because we weren't sure when we'd be able to do it, my heart broke for them. And hundreds of them came to Boyden Hall and those steps to take pictures in front of the banners. And if I heard them down below, I would put my regalia on, my cap and gown, and go down and take a picture because it's the least I can do. it was just an opportunity to celebrate them, in this case in a small way, knowing that they'd still be going across that stage. And a lot of their families came too, so I have to say, at least for me, it was good medicine for me to be able to show a very small act of kindness for our students and to celebrate with them before the bigger celebration. So I did that hundreds of times for the class of 2020 and probably another 100 times for the class of 2021.
This is the first normal opening of school here at BSU in a couple of years. You were here in 2020. It didn't have the same feeling as it does today. Yep. Having students come back, having the move-ins take place, what's that feeling knowing that as of this taping, we're hours away from having the university almost back to normal?
Our students are extremely excited to be back. Now they're a little anxious too because of, the pandemic, and they haven't been physically together and they've been sitting at home or apart from each other. But I can tell you, if we didn't learn anything in the pandemic, we learned this. We need each other. Students need to learn together in person. They need to play together, eat together, and do research together and lead together. So I'm not surprised that our students are excited to be back. And by the way, the faculty and staff are just as excited. But it cuts against the grain of our humanity to be apart the way we were. People need each other. And tomorrow begins another expression of Bridgewater State providing that opportunity for everyone to be together and to be better for it. I can't wait.
If you've driven or walked through campus, odds are you may have seen small robots rolling down the sidewalks. The number of them have grown, as has the usage, with students using them to transport food orders around BSU.
And this was an interesting story from March as we introduced viewers to the Starship robots at BSU. It wasn't too long ago that the idea of a robot delivering food was reserved for shows like the Jetsons, but that is the case at Bridgewater State. The university, along with Sodexo, who makes the food for students, has partnered with Starship Technologies. The robots engineered by the tech company have been around for a little while, but have just recently been seen strolling down sidewalks, delivering meals to the small number of students who do remain on campus. Although they serve an important role in a time where going out to eat with friends may prove difficult, the university has had discussions in past years on the possibility of bringing the bots to Bridgewater.
Long before COVID, we were looking into it. And we know because our residency is so low now, we've worked with Starship. Typically, it costs nothing to bring them to campus, but we have partnered with them and provided a little financial startup because it's important to us to have continual change and improvement with our dining program.
As they roll around colleges and universities, there has been a rise in excitement on social media, which can lead the delivery bots to take on an identity of their own.
We've started to see a little social media buzz of students being very excited, very curious about what's happening, what these robots are. We always see, as soon as we enter a new college campus, we always see these robots kind of become a part of the college campus. People will start nicknaming them, and you'll see Instagram accounts being created on their behalfs, and students get very, very creative on what they do with the robots.
There are cameras on the robot that can monitor 360 degrees with different messages to avoid having an unwanted visitor interact with it. And the only people that can gain access to the meal are the dining team and the customer who orders the food through the app.
On top of that, the robot is equipped with radars and sensors that allow it to alert the on-campus operations team that someone might be trying to mess with one of our robots. So we do have people that are kind of monitoring the situation at all times, and we've spent a very detailed time with the BSU dining team.
It's difficult to see what the future does have in store, but for this partnership between Starship Technologies, Sodexo, and BSU, the outlook is bright with hopes to continue growing in years to come. And I have to say it's kind of cool because when this first started, there were maybe 18 robots,
yeah.
But now
there's so many of them.
I walked down 104 and it looks like the set of WALL-E or something with just different robots.
I'm kind of jealous. They didn't have those when I was living on campus. It's
and
very
they do
sad.
transport Starbucks, so Starship transports Starbucks.
That would have been so nice. It would have come in handy in finals week, right? In February, it will be 7 years since the roof collapsed at the Mitchell School in Bridgewater. Back in July, there was a beam rising to mark the final beam being put into place at the site. The ceremony included speeches, the opportunity for students and staff to sign the beam, and finally the beam placement on the structure. During the speech, BR Superintendent Derek Swenson thanked everyone that made this new building possible.
Big thank you to all of those who are responsible for the planning of this event. It definitely was not me. That is definitely not in my wheelhouse of strengths, but to all those who were involved with the planning of today, I thank you. Also, we've thanked a lot of people today, and I would like to first and foremost thank the voters of Bridgewater. Without you, we don't have this incredible project standing behind me and the event that we have today. So thank all of you for being so supportive over the course of the last 6 years. I can't believe I'm saying 6 years. It seems like just yesterday. We were planning how we were going to relocate students throughout our district, and I couldn't have done that at the time without the incredible team that I have then and the incredible team that I have now that have continued that plan forward. We realized it was not a long-term plan and that we needed to make sure that we were able to enter a project that would serve the needs of our students here in the district and those of our staff. And I'm very proud to say we are standing here today with this structure behind me, knowing that we are almost there. So thank you to everyone that was involved. Also, thank you to Daedalus, and thank you to RDA and now Bacon for the incredible partnership we have created with all of you in getting this project done, and obviously MSBA to help us with the funding of this project. And I just want to end by saying that we have an incredible school district. I have an incredible team. We have incredible volunteers within this community. Mr. Dutton just kind of alluded to it, and I stated it last night at school committee. August, I believe, 13th is going to be our 58th school building committee meeting. 58 meetings to get to this point. And then in September will be our 59th. All of those individuals are volunteers. Our incredible school committee, all of those individuals are volunteers. So I really feel as though that is a reflection of the community in which we live in.
The project is expected to be finished in the summer of 2022.
2020 and the start of 2021, as we talked about, saw many traditions canceled or altered, and you can include the Rainwater Group in that as well. In May, students put on a production of Grease on what was perhaps their most unique stage in program history.
Hello, Danny.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
I thought you went to Immaculata.
I changed my plans.
Really? That's cool.
The Rainwater players made history with this year's production of Grease. The cast and crew took the show from the stage to the football field at Bridgewater Middle School, and with the pandemic numbers fluctuating in the right direction back in May and June, the group saw an opportunity to present a play in the most unique setting. But the primary goal was to allow the kids an opportunity to have a production for the first time in well over a year.
We are so excited. The start of the year, we did not know if we were going to be able to do a show, and we were determined once the pandemic started to take a turn for the better, especially once the vaccine was released and we knew that we were going to be able to do it safely. It just meant so much to us to be able to provide this experience for our students. Athletes are getting to play their sports finally, and we wanted our theater students to be able to perform. I know when we got all of our students together, through our Google Classroom and announced that we were going to have auditions and do a show, and we had some of our seniors who were in tears, just grateful for the opportunity. So it's why we're here, is as a leadership team for the Rainwater players, we want to make sure that we give our students the most opportunity that they possibly can have to do what they love.
I've been doing Rainwater for all throughout high school, and I was really uncertain if we would be doing it or not because of the pandemic, and I was really, really nervous that we might not be able to because it means so much to me. So when I found out that we could put on a show, no matter what was happening, that we could put on a show, it was just really relieving.
Thanks to the tireless effort of not just the students, but the volunteers lending their time and expertise, building the sets and providing the audio, the show went off without a hitch. Patrick Durzak and Rob Gimler provided their talent for rainwater, and it's something they've done for a number of years.
We've been involved, a bunch of our co-workers' families have been involved in the program from Raynham, so we've been dragged in for years now to assist, so it's always been just part of the schedule every year, come back to help out.
I've been doing now 11 or 12 years. This is my high school. We had shops and stuff like that in those days. Today everything is more about college prep, so a lot of these kids, can't even hang a picture frame at their house. So for me it's real important to come on back and letting the kids do something that they wouldn't get in a regular school. I mean, you have to go to a technical school really to get this kind of thing, and I enjoy it.
It was different, it was outdoors, but a unique production happened because a true community came together.
Earlier, we showed you some of the highlights from BSU's commencement at Gillette. Those classes, much like the BR class of 2021, will have plenty of stories to share about how they got to the moment where they walked across the stage. Whether it was going back and forth between in-person and hybrid learning, masks in school, or using Zoom, and so much more.
In June, BR graduates had to wait an extra day because of a quick passing shower, but the wait was worth it for students and families.
These have been truly unprecedented and trying times. And as we attempted to navigate the uncharted waters of our new normal, we became increasingly aware of the fact that sacrifice was a required component of this truly unfortunate ordeal. Members of the class of 2021, you endured your fair share of sacrifice and have unfairly foregone various rites of passage that transpired through one's high school experience, and especially that of one's senior year.
The superintendent recognized members of the class for their academic achievements and also recognized senior Shane Bridges, who had perfect attendance through all 4 years of high school and then some. Shane had perfect attendance since the 6th grade, adding up to 1,080 straight days of school. Class valedictorian James Peterson used a part of his address to the seniors to recognize the help and support of family at home and members of the BR family.
The families with us today deserve our extreme gratitude and appreciation for making us into the individuals we are today. The love and support from them was essential to the success of each individual graduate. Likewise, the incredible teachers with us today and watching from home deserve our utmost gratitude and respect. The diplomas which we receive today are a direct result of the tireless devotion of our teachers to each student that walks the halls of BR every day.
Despite the last 15 months being a whirlwind of emotion, James pointed out that through the rough points, the students in the district showed resilience in an effort to return to normal.
A little over a year ago, on March 13th, we all sat in our classrooms, unaware of what the next year would bring. Many of us believed that the idea of canceling school for more than a week was utter insanity. However, the word canceled soon epitomized the essence of the year 2020. Much-awaited sports seasons, proms, vacations, summer opportunities, semi-formals, and pep rallies were all stripped from us in a matter of months. Although 2020 brought about devastating news for our class and the difficulties of online learning, it also brought incredibly beautiful moments that we will cherish forever. What truly encapsulates the resolve and beauty of our class shined through during our senior year. It was in the smiles of seniors walking into the school this past fall and seeing friends for the first time in over 6 months. It was in the athletes bearing the difficulties of wearing a mask during games and practices, because of the love of their sport and of their teammates trumped their own struggle to catch their breath. And it was in each and every senior before you today who attended Google Meet after Google Meet and still ended each day with a smile on their face and a prevailing hope that tomorrow would be better.
Bridgewater has changed over the years, but 2021 saw perhaps some of the biggest changes.
In June, there were a couple of big moments. First, as the pride flag was raised in front of the Academy building. The Bridgewater Communities for Civil Rights presented the council with a request to okay the move, a move that was voted unanimously. BCCR member Vernon Domingo said that moves like the one Bridgewater okayed are important to show that a community is truly with all of its people.
It is extremely important at the local level that towns and communities openly and clearly express the sentiment that all are welcome, equal and accepted here, that all are free to follow their hearts, to be their authentic selves, contributing in many different ways to our civic life.
So we're here today to celebrate Gay Pride Month and really more importantly to commit ourselves going forward to equity and inclusion, as my fellow counselors have addressed, and gender identification and sexual orientation are not going to be permitted to be a rationale for exclusion or intimidation in this town.
And we have the full flag raising ceremony on our YouTube page. Again, just search BTV Access Corporation. At the Stanley Iron Works, residents not just here from town, but also from surrounding communities gathered to celebrate Juneteenth.
The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves absolute equality of all persons' rights and rights of property between former enslaved and their masters.
Council Vice President Fred Chase told residents that Juneteenth was the second event held in town this month celebrating the grassroots activism of the community. You may remember a couple weeks ago that BCCR led the charge in raising a pride flag in front of the Academy building. Councilor Chase noted that since Juneteenth is a federal holiday, its meaning will be learned by future generations along with other historical moments.
And what I think is especially good about the fact that we now celebrate today as a holiday throughout the country, in the future, children and our grandchildren are not going to need to learn about the existence of Juneteenth as an adult. They're going to learn as children, as we all should have. And those children are going to learn about not just Juneteenth, they're going to learn about Tulsa, and they're going to learn about Selma and many other important events in the history of this country, particularly as regarding race relations and freedom, more importantly.
Johnny Taylor, who is the eldest African-American resident here in town, was presented with proclamations from the town council, the senior center, and state representative Angelo D'Amelia.
Thank you so much. This is just wonderful. So many things that we all don't get together and do. We should do that now. Get it together and come in and have fun. And love God as long as you are here. Hold Him by the hands and He will give you strength to do the things that you want to do.
Bridgewater State Athletics were off the field for most of the 2020-2021 school year. However, they were recognized for a national award. The Department of Athletics and Recreation was chosen for the 2020 Division III LGBTQ Athletics Department of the Year. BSU was chosen from a list of nominees that includes Notre Dame of Maryland University, Fairleigh Dickinson University, and Pomona Pitzers College.
And just to go through that whole process, to help them identify feeling comfortable enough to be able to come and go through that process, to self-identify as a transitioning student athlete who still wants to compete, to be able to provide that inclusive environment, that safe environment, so that they could put themselves out there, really touched myself personally, but also I think really helped the entire department, everywhere from me all the way through sports information and sports medicine, to provide that inclusive competitive experience for that student athlete. Just to be able to see that impact, I think made it clear we're all on the right road here towards inclusion.
There were 40 nominations that got whittled down after 2 rounds of evaluations. The university put into place a transgender athlete policy, a first in the MASCAC and one of the first in New England. When we return, Brian Berard has a recap of local sports for this year, but first, here's a look at some of the other top stories from 2021.
The BR Marching Band has received a special invitation. The band was selected as the lone Massachusetts representative at the Lincoln Memorial Centennial Celebration taking place next year.
It's due to our performance that we had down there 5 years ago when we took the band down there, and they enjoyed our performance and our group and wanted us back.
Over the course of the last several years, what you've done to really build that program back at the high school is phenomenal. So thank you for all of your efforts, and thank you to all of our band parents as well for all of their support. They're incredibly supportive.
But for one weekend in August, 3 rounds is all you'll need to earn a trip to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Frisco's Market and Deli on Route 18 is holding the 2021 Massachusetts Mini Golf Open on Saturday, August 21st.
Well, I think it lends a lot of credibility to what we're doing down here. And again, the numbers for miniature golf courses over the years have dipped due to just development of commercial properties and so forth. So, even with bowling alleys, it's like the corner hardware store. A lot of the places that we had when we grew up are gone. So when people find something and they find a facility like ours that's multifaceted and they can come and make somewhat of an afternoon with it, they come. And then they come back and bring their family.
The 2020 Bridgewater Police 5K and 1 Mile Kids Fun Run was canceled back in September due to the pandemic. However, race organizer Rebecca Kaler and Police Chief Chris Del Monte still awarded a $500 check to Project PAC. We saw the return of a couple of fun traditions here in town on September 25th. The last Saturday of the month got started at the police station with a BPD 5K and Kids 1 Mile Fun Run.
The donation from the race will go to Helping Us Assist, provide comfort items to survivors of sexual assault of all ages in the first few hours post-assault. So we greatly appreciate the support.
After the 5K, residents went to Boyd and Quad at BSU for the return of Autumn Fest. The event is hosted by the Bridgewater Business Association and welcomes residents and local businesses for a day of fun and getting the word out about what small business here in town have to offer.
Edo is the police department's newest canine and is a Belgian Malinois German Shepherd mix who is a little under 2 years old. Edo was purchased with funds through Molly's annual Vestadog fundraiser held last year. Edo and his handler, Officer Christopher Rondeau, graduated from the Basic Canine Patrol Academy back on January 22nd. And the department already has Officer Stephen Kingsley and Canine Poppy who are assigned to the night shift for the BPD. Stella Wagner had a 100th birthday celebration brought to her South Street home, and you can see in these photos taken by the Brockton Enterprise that Stella was in a small tent with a space heater, but this was an occasion that left everybody with a warm feeling. Citations were given to Stella from the Bridgewater Town Council and by former Speaker of the House, Robert DeLeo. Family members and friends drove by holding signs and saying hi, while neighbors came by to wish a happy birthday. The Senior Center collected cards from people that were delivered, and according to the paper, a Zoom call was held connecting Stella to her cousins across the country. While you may be able to call this a baby boom for the Bridgewater Fire Department, as firefighters helped deliver their 8th baby in less than 18 months. The latest delivery took place on February 10th as the department received a call of a woman in labor at the Route 24 rest stop. Ambulance 5's crew consisting of Jonathan Hart, Sean Peters, and James Reedy were on the call, and during the trip to Good Samaritan Medical Center in Brockton, delivered a healthy 4-pound, 4-ounce baby boy. This is the 8th baby delivered by the department in an 18-month span, and for each child delivered in the ambulance, a stork is put up on the side of the vehicle. Bridgewater is home to some new champions as members of the Bridgewater Police and Fire Departments took part in the Be-Fit Heroes Cup hockey tournament. The group posted a 4-1 record with John Hart leading the team in goals with 6, and defenseman Matt Iafredi had 3 goals as part of a 6-point weekend. The group did bring home the trophy and a banner for the Division C3 championship, and the event as a whole, which featured a number of teams made up of first responders and military members, raised nearly $300,000.
our surprise float. It looks like Caitlin and Rick are having a girl.
It means a lot. My entire family celebrate having a girl.
I'm Ferdinand. You look at me and think big. You think scary. But I'm a little misunderstood. Sorry, I almost killed you. We've all been misunderstood. I'm not a fighter.
I don't understand that at all.
Kids with learning and attention issues like dyslexia and ADHD are misunderstood too. Take the time to understand.
Best plan ever!
The right support, everyone can reach their full potential because you can't judge a bull by his cover. Learn more at understood.org.
Welcome back to the Bridgewater Year in Review. We hope you enjoy what was the year of 2021 here in the town of Bridgewater. And now it's time to review what was the year in sports. It was a challenging year just like 2020, but the perseverance of both players, coaches, parents, fans, and you, the watcher, it's been unbelievable. We started this year with no fans in the stands, and we're going to end it with plenty of students and fans in BR's Red Nation and Bridgewater State's Bear Cave. Now let's start off in the early part of 2021. We had the winter sports season, but no teams could compete for a state title or a national title. But that still didn't stop the players from playing the sport that they love, especially at Bridgewater Rainham. We'll start with the girls basketball team. And we're going to cover and focus on one player that was an instrumental part of the team, and that's Kenzie Madalanas. She helped Bridgewater Rainham girls basketball get to its first ever Southeast Conference championship title. Of course, it was the first year of the Southeast Conference. But now, even more impressive, Kenzie signed her national letter of intent last year to play for the University of New Hampshire, where she has played such a pivotal role for the Wildcats so far. And another member of that girls basketball team that's now in her senior season is Shea Bolin. Probably one of the most prominent recruits to come out of Bridgewater Rainham in a long time. Shea signed her national letter of intent in the fall to play for former Boston Celtic assistant coach Kara Lawson at Duke University. One of the other student athletes signing their national letter of intent alongside Shea Bolin was Christian Thornton. Plays on the boys lacrosse team and signed his national letter of intent to play men's lacrosse at UMass Lowell. Now, also in the spring sports season, we had the baseball team and the softball team from Bridgewater Rainham make it to the South Sectional Tournament. And for the softball team, made an improbable run to the South Sectional Finals. The baseball team had a legendary season of their own. It was the final season under head coach John Carney. Now, the baseball team didn't make it as far as the softball team. However, they did have one crucial win in the South Sectional Tournament. Why was it a crucial win? Well, it gave John Carney his 300th career victory at Bridgewater Rainham. So we at BTV, including me, a former player, wish Coach Carney all the best in his retirement. Now, another sport that normally doesn't take place in the spring, but did this year, was football. And, as we said with John Carney, it was his final season at baseball. This was the final season for legendary head coach Dan Buron, as he's also had over 200 wins in his illustrious career at Bridgewater Rainham. But again, just like with Coach Carney, we at BTV wish Coach Buron the best in the health and happiness in his retirement. And you know, this is probably not surprising to many of you. You'll still see Coach Carney and Coach Buron pop their head around the regional every once in a while. Now, in the summer, no sports really happened, but there were some exciting updates to both the campuses of Bridgewater State University and Bridgewater Rainham. And we'll focus right now on Bridgewater State. Both schools got brand new turf fields. And one thing you may notice that's a little bit different about Bridgewater State's is those bright red end zones. And they want everyone to know that you're playing at Bridgewater State. And they also have their Bear Paw Pavilion, which replaced the old, kind of dilapidated locker room with a much better, up-to-date facility for Bridgewater State football. At Bridgewater Rainham, their turf field came in just a little bit later than they were expecting, but as they say, it's better late than never. Now, because of this, Bridgewater Rainham football had to play their first 3 home games on the road. And I say they were on the road, they were called neutral site games, but their first game of the year against Duxbury at home was at East Bridgewater High School. The second home game of the season against Xaverian was at Taunton High School, and the third home game of the season against St. John's Prep was at Marciano Stadium at Brockton High School. Bridgewater Rainham football didn't have their first true home game until later in October when they welcomed in the New Bedford Whalers. And just to start, just like they did in the spring, they had an undefeated regular season going into their last game against the Brockton Boxers. This year, a much more familiar scene as they played on Thanksgiving morning. Congratulations to head coach Lou Pacheco. As we said, Dan Buron retired after the spring season, which welcomed in Lou Pacheco and a bunch of new faces on the Bridgewater Rainham football coaching staff. And what they did, not only in their first year in the middle of a pandemic, they also had no home stadium. Like I said, it's their first year, so they're still trying to meet the players, and they're trying to get familiar with the coaches and the schemes and what they can do, all in their first year, and they still had an undefeated conference record. They did a phenomenal job, and the future is only going to get brighter and better for BR football. Now, in other fall sports, the girls' soccer team also made it to the South Sectional Tournament, and one of the other players that signed their national letter of intent was Jenna Quill. We wish her congratulations as she signed her national letter of intent to play for Bryant University. We hope you enjoyed what was the year in sports in the town of Bridgewater. It was a challenging year, but I think above it all, the student athletes thrived in the situation. And from all of us here at Bridgewater Television, we wish you all a happy and healthy holiday season. For the Bridgewater Year in Review, I'm Brian Berard.
Before we end the show, which is known as the Year in Review, let's look ahead a bit to 2022. A new year means a new opportunity to make some New Year's resolutions.
There you go.
Good Housekeeping came out with a list of 60 resolutions, and we have a few of them to share with you. There are the popular ones, including health as far as exercising and eating better, but reading more books is a good one, as this could actually connect you with new friends and peers who are reading the same selections as you, and you'll feel better at the end of the year if you keep count of how many books you've actually read.
How about planning out your meals for the week? It can get crazy with people coming home at different times and figuring out what's for dinner. So plan it out on Sunday, and you can make cards that tell you what you'll need and recipes if somebody in the house wants to try cooking them.
Make sure you have 911 on standby if you burn the house down.
I think that might be my New Year's resolution. Try to cook more, because I don't do it enough.
Well, here's something that I think we actually know a good amount about, and that's walking, as the United States Department of Health and Human Services maintains that adults should spend as much time moving each day as possible. Some physical activity is always better than none at all.
We thank you for watching the Year in Review and watching BTV programming all year long.
Don't forget to follow us on social media so you can stay up to date on everything happening in town. I'm John Locke.
And I'm Mary Evers. Have a happy New Year.